Hey guys, Preston here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're continuing our Steelers positional breakdown series, this time with the wide receivers. That's why I'm repping a JuJu jersey. It's a Nike reverse color rush thing. They've never worn these on the field. I wouldn't be mad if they did though. Chose this over my Ward or Wallace jersey just because, JuJu's still playing and he's kind of a big topic of conversation this offseason. Real quick, if you haven't seen any of the other positional breakdowns and you're interested, if you look in the little tags up in the corner, I have the playlist for the rest of these. You can either watch them after this one. You can go and watch the other ones first. It doesn't really matter. It's not like, direct sequels or something. It's just each different positional unit I'm making my way through. I've already done quarterbacks, tight ends, and running backs. So we're continuing with the offense on the skill positions, this time with the wide receivers. Very interesting group this year. So obviously we're still in camp mode, so there's a lot of kind of receivers I could talk about, but I'm kind of going to focus on the main 5 or 6 because it's very likely we keep 6 at most on the active roster, maybe even 5. We'll see. It's kind of a competition right now. We're going to go through this kind of one at a time, talk about the contract situation and the players. So we're going to start with the most obvious one to talk about, and that's JuJu, obviously. Sorry, guys. The colors on this is just weird. Either way, yeah, JuJu is up first. He is obviously, I'm sure you've heard about this by now. It's been talked about for a while. This is the last year of his rookie deal. He's set to make $1.3 million this year, but after that, he's going to want a payday. The question is, how much is he going to be worth? Is he going to be priced out of the Steelers market? And what kind of happens here? It's a very unfortunate free agency season for the Steelers, especially with the COVID crap. Couldn't have come at a worse time. The cap was supposed to go up millions of dollars next year, but now it's going to be flat at best. It's going to screw not just Pittsburgh, but it's definitely going to screw Pittsburgh. We're going to lose a lot of guys this offseason, so this is kind of a big year for us. Let's hope it all works out. But yeah, JuJu, like I said, he's a free agent after this year. It's going to be really interesting because obviously last year was his worst year of his career, which is not usually something you think of as your third year in your NFL career being your worst. In this case, it was. Obviously, there was other factors involved that we'll talk about, but just to kind of give a brief overview, his rookie year, he had 917 yards and a 73.4% catch rate. That's great. And the only concerning thing is that catch rate has dropped every year, even the second year when he was still with Ben. But his targets went up too, so it makes a bit more sense there. This season was rough, like I said. His best year was that 2018 season where he made the Pro Bowl that year, which, him and Connor did. It was a nice thing. But, yeah, he started all 16 games that year. It's the only season so far he's played all 16. He was in all 16. He started 13 of them. He had 166 targets, and he caught 111 of those for 1,426 yards and 7 touchdowns. And 67 of those passes went for first downs. That's double what he did his rookie year and even more than double what he did this past season. Very good year that year. It's pretty obvious. Yeah, sorry guys. I keep saying I try not to do that too much, but I am. He fumbled once that year. I know people talk about JuJu, and unfortunately his name's been synonymous with the fumbles, but the thing is, I think statistically, after this many years in his career with the Steelers, he's one of literally the best when it comes to not fumbling the ball out of any Steelers wide receivers. He's only fumbled twice in his entire career. It just happens to be that the man chooses his one fumble per season to be at the worst possible time, which is that Saints game we needed to win and that Ravens game in overtime that we could have won, which also ended up being a game we kind of needed to win. So he's got to stop that. He's got to not fumble in the big plays, but I know he feels bad about it. I will say, in 2019, we'll kind of talk about what happened there. First off, he only played in 12 games last season. He was not healthy most of the year. Might have been turf toe. He had some sort of toe injury throughout the year that he played with for the most part. But he got jacked up in that Browns game, I believe, along with freaking Deonte Thompson. That Browns game ruined, I hate that team. Sorry if you're a Browns fan, but you got to understand how we feel. That game, we lost Rudolph got smacked in the head, Deonte Johnson got concussed, and JuJu got messed up. That one game. We lost 3 guys. It was ridiculous. But either way, you pair all of his injury issues with the fact that he was playing with third and fourth string quarterbacks. We didn't really build a rapport lift. It led to him having his lowest amount of targets so far was 70 in his entire career. His lowest amount of receptions with only 42. His lowest yards at 552. His yards per reception was his actually second lowest at 13.1. His best year, he actually had the lowest at 12.8. Only 3 touchdowns, and his catch rate was only 60% this time. I will say there were some moments where he was dropping some balls, and that was the most concerning part. I'm sure they weren't great throws because we know these quarterbacks, but the drops were definitely the most concerning part of this game because I get some of the more things, with less targets, kind of all those contested throws, just bad options for him, but some of the drops were just unacceptable. That fumble sucked too, obviously. But I will give him credit. This offseason, it looks like he worked really, really hard. He's kind of changed his physique to a point where he's just jacked now, being honest. Him and James Conner worked out like crazy this offseason. Obviously, being a workout warrior doesn't automatically translate to the field, but it shows he's very hungry. From what I've heard from training camp, he's already meshed back with big men pretty easy, pretty fluidly. They look good together again, and so I definitely think he will have a bounce-back season. I think a lot of people ruled him out too quick last year. He was hurt, and he played with not great quarterbacks. I'm sorry. It's rude to call him garbage. I like the kids. I do. I like the both quarterbacks, but let's be honest. They're definitely no Big Ben. They were graded at pretty much the very bottom of all quarterbacks that started last season. Probably some backups were better, if we're being honest. So people are quick to forget this, too. Antonio Brown did horrible when Michael Vick was the starting quarterback. So it's like, I mean, no one's thinking AB's fell off a cliff or something. He played with a backup, and we understood it, and it's the same situation with JuJu. Pretty much every receiver on the roster except one notable exception who we'll talk about later. But, yeah, he'll be better. He should at least be on par with his rookie year. He should get 800 to 900, hopefully 1,000 yards. But the thing is, with this offense this year, I think the ball will be spread out more. I know Ben still likes to find one guy and target him a crap ton, so maybe he will bounce. Maybe he will have its 2018-esque season. But the reality is we have a lot of good young wide receivers that are kind of close to equal playing field, spread out with 2 good tight ends. I think the ball will be distributed more evenly than in the years past. And so I have a feeling he might not break 1,000, but he'll definitely be well above what he was this season, and I think he will bounce back strong. You can count on that. The only question is if we get to keep him or not. I hope we do. I like JuJu, but if he gets priced out, I will understand it'd be time to move on. Luckily, other guys, like I said, this entire receiving core I like a lot. They're young and they're improving each year, and you have Deonte Thompson on the come up, James Washington, and the fact we just drafted Chase Claypool, who's looked really good. We'll talk about him soon. Gives me a little bit more confidence if we do lose JuJu Smith-Schuster. That being said, I hope we don't. Of course I don't. I'm not one of... Some people judge him too hardly. They're like, when he has a bad game, like, it's all the Fortnite you've been playing and stuff. It's like, no, the kid knows what he's doing. He's a professional on and off the field. He works very hard. He worked incredibly hard this offseason. He's a great character person, which is definitely something we want in Pittsburgh. He's good for the city. But he's got to prove it this year. I mean, for him, too, for his contract's sake, he won a very good year, too. Only problem is if he does great, he might price himself out of Pittsburgh, which also sucks. It's kind of a weird situation we're in. I do wish him the best no matter what, and I think he will do good for us this year, especially with Big Ben back. I think Big Ben changes his offense a lot. Definitely won't be as bad as it was last year. Next guy we're going to talk about is who I kind of went in order and what I think the roster will be. And that's definitely... Oh, I got a thunderstorm, guys. That threw me off for a bit, sorry. Is Deonte Thompson. I think he definitely is the number 2 wide receiver. Depending on if they play JuJu in the slot a lot, he might be lined up as the number 1 on the outside. I think it's kind of fluid, though, because I think Deonte does a good job in the slot, too, so maybe they play him more just because of his size and build in the slot. And JuJu, he's definitely better in the slot, but he's more than capable of being an outside receiver with his frame, I think he's, what is he? This is unfortunate. 6'1", 215 pounds, according to Pro Football Reference, and so... Yeah, that's a better outside body type compared to Deonte Thompson, who is 5'10", 183. He's still getting Antonio Brown comparisons, obviously, because, he's a smaller wide receiver, works really hard. He actually had the best average yards of separation, I think, definitely of all rookie wide receivers. I think it might have been very close to the top of this all NFL receivers. The problem was, who the quarterbacks were. He did get targeted 92 times, though, with caught 59 of them for 680 yards and 5 touchdowns, 64% catch percentage. Not bad. Like I said, we haven't got to see him with Big Ben pretty much at all. He only started 12 games this year. He missed some with that concussion, like I said, plus the beginning of the year. He wasn't in there, which I don't know if that's a Ben thing, but he definitely got his chance due to some of the roster injuries and mishaps. JuJu going down was bad for him, but it was a good opportunity for both Deonte and James Washington to show they're capable, and I think they both did a good job of that. So Deonte's looking to break out. I think a lot of fans are very high on this kid. I am too. Like I said, his fumbles concern me a lot. We give JuJu so much credit for his 2 fumbles in 3 years. Deonte's only played 1 year, and he's fumbled 5 times already. Luckily for us, the Steelers managed to recover most of those, so we don't feel as bad, but it's not good. He's got to work on that. Hopefully that's the thing he worked on the most this offseason. I believe he added some weight this offseason, so that 183 might not be his actual weight right now. From what I heard, he came in more muscular, put on some muscle, and hopefully that helps him out too in the long run. He has elite speed. Well, I guess he's not a burner. Don't get me. He's not like a Hollywood Brown for the Ravens. He's not just gonna, but he's definitely his route running skills and his agility. I guess I'll use agility instead of elite speed. He's fast though. Don't get me wrong, but you know what I mean. He's very good at the separation. Like I said, as long as he can hold on to the football afterwards, I think he will have a very, very good year. Like I said, I think the wide receivers will kind of have even numbers, but I think he'll probably be number 2 in receptions, right behind JuJu. Depending. Obviously, Deonte could get the same benefits that JuJu did with JuJu getting doubled. That means Deonte has a lot of opportunities to beat the number 2 corner, and with how good he is at his route running and his average yards of separation, I believe he can do that. Look for Deonte to have a great year this year. The Steelers know what they're doing with developing and drafting wide receivers. This is his 2nd year. It's kind of a breakout year. In a lot of the Steelers systems, the rookies tend to improve greatly their 2nd year. Don't get a lot of playing time their 1st year usually. Deonte really got most of it due to the injuries, but he showed his worth, and I think 680 he's on the up from here. He's going to continue to grow, and he's going to have a great season. Just has to work on those fumbles. Contract-wise, all these kids are I don't think we have any receiver making more than like $2 million. It's crazy how cheap our wide receiver is right now. Obviously, that will change, especially if we sign JuJu, but Deonte won't be a free agent until the 2023 season. He's locked under contract till 2022. This season, he's set to make $972,000. The most he'll make is $1.3 million at 2022. So very cheap, very affordable. Nothing to worry about money-wise. He won't even be a free agent. Don't even have to worry about that until 2023. So we're going to get this kid for a while, and hopefully he balls out like crazy. Another Steelers 3rd-round wide receiver who turns out very well, like Emmanuel Sanders. I think Mike Wallace a 3rd-round pick too? He might have been. But we know how it is. The pick we got in the trade of Antonio Brown netted us this kid, and I think this kid really has star potential. And I think it's just great, the irony of that, the fact we got an Antonio Brown-like kid hopefully minus the attitude issues. We don't see anything yet, although definitely should have less attitude than Antonio Brown. But yeah, that's Deonte Johnson. Like I said, I think he'll be the number 2 guy. Some people are saying he should be number 1. I think JuJu still earned that, and I think he already has the rapport with Ben, which will help him, especially with this weirder offseason. So I think he'll definitely still be 1. But Deonte looks to make a big impact this year and will be the number 2 wide receiver if you ask me. Next up, this is a more debatable one. People still aren't super high on James Washington. I'm kind of weird with him. I think he's very good. He's always really good in camp and preseason too. But his lack of rapport with Big Ben still worries me. He never really got a good connection with Ben Roethlisberger, and it's from what I've heard, Chase Claypool's already established a good relationship with Big Ben in camp, so there's a chance that Claypool beats out Washington for that 3rd spot. But like I said, with rookies, the Steelers tend to take them slow, so maybe Washington's got that 3rd spot on lock regardless. Contract-wise, he is set to make $1.2 million this year. He's locked under contract for this year and next season, but in 2022 he'll be a free agent. He'll be a more interesting guy. Obviously, I don't think he'll command as much money as JuJu, since he's pretty much slotted in to be the 3rd at best wide receiver this year, barring injuries, or maybe he really, really balls out. We'll see what happens. He led college in receiving yards his last year and was picked up in the 2nd round, but he's developing pretty good, I'd say. Unfortunately, not having Ben kind of hurt, so we don't know what he would have really looked like, but He had a very solid year with these backups because it appeared like he had the best rapport. Duck Hodges had the best rapport with James Washington out of anyone. He played in 15 games last year, starting in 10 of them. He had 44 receptions on 80 targets for 735 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's a 55% catch rate, which is actually up from his rookie season when he only caught 16 passes for 217 yards. But yeah, like I said, he played very well. We saw him down the stretch. He looked like a beast some of these games. That second Browns game, no one could stop him. They interfered the crap out of him on that touchdown pass. He brought it down with 2 guys on him. I'll always remember that play. That was freaking great. Couple one-handed catches against the Colts. There was that stretch, that like 4 or 5 game stretch when James Washington balled out. And I think the kid's a beast. He's got plenty of potential. He's a big-bodied outside perimeter guy, and I think if he can establish a relationship with Big Ben, he will be a problem. Fumbling-wise, only 1 fumble his entire career so far. That's very nice to see. Like I said, he's only 5'11", 213, but the kid is, he was a streaker in college too, which made it weirdly that he didn't develop a relationship with Mason Rudolph either on the Steelers. But like I said, as long as he can, if him and Ben can get a rapport, I still think James Washington is dangerous. I'm not ready to rule him out yet. It just sucks for him that this wide receiver room is continuing to get more crowded as the Steelers continue to spend day 2 draft picks on the wide receiver room. But like I said, if JuJu leaves, maybe the room clears up a little bit, but he'll still have competition from Johnson and Claypool for those spots, But stats-wise, I already went over it. Contract-wise, too. I do like James Washington a lot. I think he's still got plenty of gas left in the tank. Just needs to build a relationship with the starting quarterback, and hopefully it works out. Obviously, like I said, the Steelers are in a good position when you don't know who's going to be where. I think it's a different situation than we've been used to. It used to be Antonio Brown and then the rejects, but now it's just everyone's good and fighting for time and possessions, and it's going to be great. I like these kids. They're hungry, man. I really like this wide receiver room. I'm up on it more than other people probably are. Now we got the rookie Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame. I love this pick as a Notre Dame and a Steeler fan. I think if you don't know, I'm actually doing positional breakdowns for Notre Dame too. I already have the quarterbacks one up. You can find that on my channel. I guess now I'll take the time to ask you guys to subscribe if you enjoy my content. It really helps a lot. I notice most of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I'd appreciate it if you do, so you can keep getting Steelers-related content and sports content in general. It'd be greatly appreciated. Now, with Chase Claypool, he's on a rookie deal, so we don't have to worry about him until 2024 is when he hits free agency. He's got 4 seasons under contract with us, set to make $1.2 million this season. It'll end with $2 million in 2023. All not bad. Like I said, none of these wide receivers are making more than $2 million this season. It's just, like I said, young guys. Claypool's only 22, but that size of 6'4", 229 pounds, with the fact he ran a very good 40. He put up similar combine numbers, so don't read into it like crazy, as Megatron did Calvin Johnson. Just to give you a relative idea, I'm not saying he'll be Calvin Johnson, but he will be very good. He's already been turning heads in camp. I think Pro Football Focus, not Pro Football Focus. I think it's Pro Football Talk. I think it's an NBC-based football website. Their Twitter. They mentioned that Chase Claypool was drafted 11th this year out of receivers, but he's been generating more buzz than any other rookie receiver this year so far in camps. I think that's a great sign. Like I said, Joe Hayden went out of his way to praise this kid. He said he even made some plays on me, which is, something probably a veteran corner wouldn't like to admit, but it's the fact is he's respects Claypool. Claypool's already built a name for himself in camp. Like I said, if he's getting plays off on Joe Hayden, I think he'll be very good in this league. There's a lot of hype around him right now. Obviously, it's just hype. It's just camp hype. We don't even get a freaking preseason to see what he can do. But I do think he's going to make a name for himself in this league. I'm very excited about him. I saw him in college, so I know what he can do. He always fights for extra yards. He's a physical beast. He's a freak. I think he's best on the outside, obviously, at 6'4", 229. I think he's a very good deep threat. At the very least, in his rookie year, should carve out a role as a deep threat guy. Maybe on those plays where they only had one wide receiver out there, instead of putting Johnny freaking Holton or, someone like that, this time they get to put Chase Claypool out there. Quickly about him, obviously he has no pro stats, but I want to mention his college career. The fact he improved every year is a good thing to look at. For some reason, they don't have fumble stats on here, but I think he took care of the ball pretty well. I really don't remember him fumbling, so that shouldn't be an issue. His last season as a senior, he started in all the games. He had 66 receptions for 1,037 yards and 13 touchdowns. He was Ian Book's go-to target. The man caught almost everything thrown to him. The target numbers aren't on here either, but whatever. I guess Pro Football References college stats aren't as good. But yeah, those 13 touchdowns are really what you want to see. He's a red zone beast. A lot of times when Notre Dame went to that red zone, they were looking for Claypool to throw it up there and would have beat whoever the heck he had on him. He's got, like, the size alone is a huge asset to this team, especially in the rookie year. That's something you'll want to look at. Okay, here we go. He only had 2 fumbles as a Notre Dame, as a Fighting Irish player. His 4 years, 2 fumbles, not bad. Like I said, fumbles really shouldn't be an issue. He's also a special teams gunner. We haven't really talked about that yet, but obviously with Johnny Holton, who I just mentioned, being gone, you need another gunner on special teams. And so it looks like hopefully Claypool will earn that role. It'll be him and Justin Lane, a corner, we'll talk about in the corners video, gunning down on special teams. Because obviously we did lose some special teams talent this year. It's obviously something you don't focus on a lot. But with Dirty Red, Tyra Matakevich, and Rosie Nix, and Johnny Holton all gone, those are probably our best special teams players. So now it's Derek Watt, Chase Claypool, and Justin Lane. Hopefully continue that tradition. Like I said, very excited about Claypool, and he's been turning heads in camp, so hopefully that translates to the NFL. I look forward to him balling out this year, and at the very least, he should definitely make a name for himself next season, especially if we lose JuJu. He'll get even more playing time to prove himself. Next up is a guy, a fan favorite, is Ryan Switzer. I know most people are not big on him in general, I'll be honest, but he is a free agent after this season too, similar to JuJu, but obviously he will not command JuJu numbers if he gets re-signed. He is 26 years old, so he's headed towards the back end of his 20s. He's 5'8", 181 pounds apparently. Stats-wise, he's coming off his worst year ever. Obviously, he started no games in 2019. So that should help him. He only had 8 receptions for 27 yards last season. He's been more of a punt return man, special teams man, but that role isn't his. I don't think he's best suited for that either. His average yards of return was only 3.6 last season, which to me is just abysmal. He's more of a guy, he'll catch the ball. He won't fumble it on punt returns. He won't muff it. That's about it. And that's kind of his place in general. He'll catch it. That's about it. Reliable hands it's a good trait to have, but with the talent in this wide receiver room, I can't see him carving that big of a role unless, injuries happen, or maybe he'll get on plays or like the slot guy needs a break. Go get out there. His one benefit is that Big Ben does love the kid. They seem to have a pretty good relationship. I'm not sure quite how it happened or what it is, but that means Big Ben should help the kid out. Obviously, his best year was in 2018 when Big Ben was there, when he had 36 receptions for 253 yards and a touchdown. So even with Ben, and like I said, Ben loved him, his numbers weren't great still. His catch percentage is something that is impressive, though. The fact he had an 81.8% catch percentage in 2018 when he had those 44 targets. And even last season, he only had targeted 11 times, but he caught 72.7% of them. He caught 8 of the 11. So, that's the positive thing about Ryan Switzer. I'll say, I'm trying to be nice here, is he will hold on to the ball. I just don't. There's the upside, the lack of athleticism and the age means he will probably be here because he likes Big Ben, but I don't see him carving in much more of a role than maybe that 200 to 300 yards, just coming in when guys need breaks or because of injury to a slot guy kind of a deal, But Ben likes him. I'm sure he'll stay on the team. Maybe he'll earn his special teams roles back as a punt returner or kick returner, but I feel like there's other guys more equipped for that. We'll talk about one of them later on, actually. But I will give him credit, too. He's transformed himself in the offseason. I don't have a picture to put up, but the guy is looking jacked recently. He must have went under a similar workout program that JuJu did, because the man put on a lot of muscle. There's also a lot of articles coming out now that they're saying he's actually performing very well in camp. I don't know if you've seen the picture circling up. The dude is jacked now, a little jacked guy. But yeah, like Steelers Wire had an article 3 days ago that said, don't look now, but Ryan Switzer is making plays at camp. Unfortunately for Switzer, he's actually dealing with a bit of a foot injury right now. It all seems pretty minor. Camp people get banged up in camp all the time. Kareth White, the running back, is also suffering with some stuff. But like I said, it's pretty likely he makes the roster. If it was up to me, he probably wouldn't. I'd put another bigger bodied guy in there. But it does make sense to kind of have a pure backup slot kid, someone with some special teams potential. But last year he did deal with injuries and bad quarterback play just like everyone else last season. So maybe he does pretty good. But like I said, his bond with Big Ben helps him a lot. And he's performed well in camp, so hopefully he does okay for us. Obviously, you don't have to love the kid, but if you're a Steelers fan, you want him to do well, so let's hope he does well. He should do better than last season. 27 yards isn't hard to beat. Having Big Ben back alone should help that, and if he can stay healthy and play more than only 9 games, that should help too. The next guy we're going to talk about is a guy who, unfortunately, apparently has been struggling in camp and is kind of in jeopardy of losing his spot. He has to fight. If they keep 6 wide receivers, he'd be number 6, and he's kind of fighting for that spot right now with some other guys that I'll briefly mention. But Deonte Thompson is a guy I actually really like, and I mean, he'll be a free agent next year too, but like I said, it's not a guy you have to worry about re-signing like a JuJu money-wise. He's set to make $675,000 this year, his last contract year with the team. Let me get his stats up. I forgot to do that, guys. Sorry. Deonte Thompson stats. Unprofessional of me. So last season in 2019, he had so he was a rookie last year, I guess. I didn't really think about that. He's only a rookie. He was a rookie. It's only his second year. He's an undrafted free agent. I like his size a lot, which is kind of why I have him over Switzer. I like him more. He's at 6'2", 202 pounds. He made some decent plays when he had the opportunity last season. Obviously, he was dealing with playing with not great quarterback play and backups too. And there was definitely at least one play, it might have been against the Browns, that he could have easily had a touchdown on if he wasn't horribly interfered with, just to avoid that. He's more of a deep threat kind of guy too, like I said, which is something Claypool's more capable of, so maybe that hurts his standing too. But his rookie year, if you're counting both teams together, he had 20 targets, caught 9 of them for 124 yards and no touchdowns. But his catch percentage actually went up when he joined Pittsburgh. He caught 5 of the 6 targets that went his way. And like I said, the one target he didn't catch was a pretty bad interference on him. And so he was a reliable hands. You can say that much. He was a deep threat. Like I said, he didn't really make much of an impact because he joined the team late into the season. But I like what he has to offer. The only thing is he hasn't, from what I've heard, he's had his moments of struggle in camp so far, which isn't, something you want to hear. But, camp's always different, so it's in and out. We'll see what happens. But I do like him a lot, like I said, and I think he should be the guy to make the number 6 spot. He'll have to compete with guys like Saeed Blacknell, who did get cut originally, but I think he got back because of injuries, so maybe he has a chance to prove himself again. Anthony Johnson, the former Buffalo University standout wide receiver, and a new guy that apparently has been making a bit of a name for himself right away, and that is Ray McLeod. He is mainly a special teams guy. He basically has 0 receiving stats. He has 5 receptions for 36 yards in his receiving career, but I think he's only 23, so honestly, I don't know how long he's been in the NFL. He was originally with Buffalo, so 2018 and 2019 is where he's been. More of a punt returner, like I said, a pretty good one at that, especially on kick returns. I think he averaged 21.8 yards per kickoff return last season. That's not too bad. But like I said, he's been making more of a name in camp than anything. He doesn't have any real stats, but the thing is, his special teams ability makes him valuable, and it might give him an edge over someone like Deonte Thompson or maybe even Ryan Switzer. So he's just a name to keep an eye out for, because you never know what could happen. So we'll see. But yeah, guys, for the most part, that's kind of the Steelers wide receiver room. Sorry, I keep looking over on my laptop, but that's where I got a lot of the note stuff. So that there's still a battle for that number 6 wide receiver spot, but I'm sure the casual fan, it doesn't matter too much. It's more of a who's a backup guy, and I have a feeling most of the other guys, those Johnsons and Blacknails, maybe Amara Darboa and stuff, if they don't make the team, they'll end up on the expanded practice squad this season. maybe even Ray McLeod. Maybe you keep him on the practice squad, and if you need another kick returner. It's an interesting thing, like I said. But to me, if you ask me, the 5 or 6 wide receivers this season will be JuJu in order-ish. JuJu, Deonte, James Washington, Chase Claypool. These 2 will be fighting for that 3 and 4 spot, if you ask me. Deion Kane and Ryan Switzer. Obviously, Kane's more of a backup outside wide receiver. Switzer's more of the backup inside wide receiver. But like I said, guys like Ray McLeod are trying to fit in there too. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think of this wide receiver room. They're super young and hungry, and they're kind of like the young money crew, young money team back when we had Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, and Emmanuel Sanders. Hopefully with better attitudes. We haven't seen anything bad out of these kids. Maybe it's a bit too early to compare them to those guys just off, talent-wise, but the potential's there, and the numbers should be there after this season. We'll get to see him play with Big Ben, and we'll see how it goes for all the boys. They're all looking to make a name for themselves. They're all competing hard for more snaps, more targets, and one of them is up for, 3 of them that I named are up for contracts, but one big one's up for contract, and then soon the other guys will follow. So let me know what you think. Do the Steelers keep JuJu after this season, or do they let the other guys just move up a spot, with Claypool hopefully emerging into a newer, better role? Or do you want JuJu back badly? What are you willing to pay for him? And what do you think about the wide receiver room in general? Do you think I'm wrong on my predictions? Do you think someone else makes it in over someone? Or do you think maybe Deonte's number 1 or Claypool's number 2? That's something crazy. Let me know what you guys think the depth chart order will end up being. And if you see anyone else making a team that I didn't mention or not making the team. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to watch more of my videos. The playlist of my Steelers positions and breakdowns up here. Click right around here to subscribe, and I'll have just a random recommended video for you guys over here. Maybe my most recent upload. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like I said. We're getting close. It's trying to hit 150 by the end of the year would be very ambitious. But 150 eventually. I just want to keep going up in subs. It feels great to keep going. So I'm going to keep posting to make sure I'm committed to growing this channel. I am definitely not done. I'll continue with these Steelers positional breakdowns. I'm going to get as many done as I can before the regular season starts. I might have to do some a little bit into the regular season. But at least by then we'll know who the official roster will be. So it won't be too bad of a deal. All right, guys. Rambling again. Thank you for watching. This is K-May Preston signing out. See you guys later.